Hi, everybody. How are you? Welcome to Therapeutic Wisdom from the AKASH. My name is Laura Mazzotta. I am an Akashic healer and teacher. I've also been a therapist for almost 20 years, and I come here live every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Awoken TV. If you have not been to Awoken TV before, welcome. And if you have been to Awoken TV before, welcome back. You can find Awoken TV at www.awoken.tv or on the App Store, and it's basically like a spiritual and metaphysical Netflix. You're going to find conscious filmmakers, light workers, courses, all sorts of information and compassion to assist you on your healing journey and on your spiritual awakening journey. So please say hello if you're here so that I know the comments are working. Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much. I'm just going to take a moment to share this out, and I encourage you to do the same. We are going to be talking about some of this powerful energy that has been hitting our planet lately from the sun. And I would love to just get feedback from you guys as to how you've been feeling lately. Let me know how you've been feeling, particularly over the past 4 weeks or so, since December 21st, which was the winter solstice. Let me know how you've been feeling since then. Okay. Alrighty, I'm just gonna share this out to just like 3 places and then we're gonna get going, okay? Let me know where you guys are tuning in from, and if you're a first timer, let me know that because I love welcoming new people and getting to know you. So definitely say hello and let me know where you guys are tuning in from. It's so cool to identify like where everybody's from, and that, you know, from all over the world, we're all here at the same time in the same place connecting. It's just really, really nice that we have the opportunity for that with technology these days, right? How many of you have been affected by Mercury retrograde? Mercury retrograde just started. It goes into retrograde for about 3 weeks typically. So and Mercury is the planet of communication. So it's really all about, we can get interruptions in technology, interruptions in the way that we express ourselves during Mercury retrograde. So it's a good time for us to be cautious in terms of communication. So ears ringing and some headaches. Okay. So from New England, I'm from New York. So that might mean that you are near me, my friend. And it looks like you shared out. So thank you so much, Lisa. I really appreciate that. Thank you for being here. All right, last share out, and then we're going to be besties here. Okay. Cool. And now I get to close my phone since I know the comments are working. For any of you who are watching this on Emerge Healing and Wellness or in another group or on my personal page, and you want to communicate on this live, definitely jump over to Awoken TV because I'm not going to be able to see your comments unless you are here on the Awoken TV page tonight. Okay, so there were a few people that wanted me to tag them tonight, so I'm going to do that, and then we can get started. So, how many of you know about the Schumann resonance? How many of you are familiar with that? Raise your hand in the comments. I'm just going to give you a moment to do that while I tag these couple people. See, it's not showing up. Facebook is so special. Sometimes it just doesn't let me tag people. Yeah, see, it's not letting me. Anyway, I'll try to tag it from my personal page. Does anybody ever have that issue where you can't tag somebody? So the amount of energy that has been coming through lately, oh my goodness gracious. It is making everybody have headaches. I even know a lot of people who are, hi Amber, so good to see you, who are working in the healthcare profession, and they're seeing a lot of people come in with physical symptoms that are very reflective of the kinds of things that this energy is naturally going to do to us. So I'm going to share it. Hi Caprice, good to see you. All right, good. I'm such a big girl. I got it all done. So proud of myself. Okay, so let's get started. Let's get started. I hope everybody is having a great weekend. I am so pumped because we are getting a giant snowstorm here in New York. So we're going to get about a foot of snow tonight into tomorrow. And I love snowstorms. I love being snowed in with my family. It's so cozy. So really looking forward to that. My kids' school already got canceled. So we are going to snuggle up next to the fire tomorrow and probably have hot cocoa after we go outside. So I'm excited about that. But tonight I want to talk about the sun. And we all know, yeah, the full moon. Thank you for saying that, Caprice, because the full moon is, hi, Cassidy, good to see you, is very impactful and very powerful. It's so funny too, because I even like was driving down the road the other day and I was like, holy crap. I mean, it was huge. It was an enormous moon right in front of me. And I took a picture of it, but it didn't even come close to doing it justice. So there has been really powerful energy here with the full moon. But in general, we've been having a lot of intense cosmic energy coming towards the planet since the December solstice, December 21st, and the winter solstice. That was also the time, if you recall, that Saturn and Jupiter went conjunct in the sign of Aquarius. And they're going to be in that sign of Aquarius at 0 degrees of Aquarius for the next year. So we're going to be in an air sign, which is why people are saying we've entered the age of Aquarius, right? Which is this opportunity for collective connection, for really taking care of the collective and being of service to the collective. And we're finding right now, actually, that Mercury is going retrograde in Aquarius as well. And Venus is entering Aquarius as well. So we have all of these planets that are in Aquarius, which is an air sign, really calling for shifts just structurally in our societies, calling for shifts obviously within us to, move more to that feminine flow and allowing ourselves to just create. And it can feel chaotic at first, but it's just a new way of managing things. And it makes sense because we're coming out of this 2020 where we have the pandemic going on and a lot of structures are shifting globally. And that's really what's happening with this energy. It really supports us to be able to flow through these changes with more ease, okay? So, whenever a planet goes retrograde, it kind of goes in the opposite direction that it was originally going. And so it actually doesn't move that way, but it looks that way to us from our perspective. Okay. And so since Mercury is the planet of communication, it can really throw a wrench in a lot of these areas of communication. It could be speaking, it could be technology, it could be speaking up for yourself. Okay. So it's important to keep that in mind, in addition to what I'm going to be sharing with you tonight, right? I think it's really important that we put all of these different tools together and we don't just rely on one, because they all feed into one another and cross over with one another, okay? Oh, I'll make a snow angel for you, Caprice. No problem. I'll tell my kids to do it if I decide that I'm too much of a wuss to get my head in the snow. Really, Amber? Oh, thank you for sharing too, honey. I really appreciate it. So I will send you some snow vibes. Maybe I'll take some pictures tomorrow and post them on my story. So just keep an eye on my story and you guys can see all the snow, okay? So we typically talk about the moon, right? Like you just said, I think it was Caprice that just said that this full moon energy is really powerful. The full moon energy in general, is feminine energy, okay? Feminine energy, and it's obviously very magnetizing and it controls the tides of our planet, etc. So it has a big impact on us because our bodies are 70% water. So if this entity, the moon, is controlling the tides, it's obviously going to impact how our body functions and shifts. And that's going to impact how we feel physically, our emotions, in addition to our behavior. And our behavior is particularly going to be thrown off a little bit with Mercury retrograde and with the moon being full, because when the moon is full, everything is illuminated, even those dark spots that we'd like to release. So it gives us a beautiful opportunity to do that with this full moon energy. And I think today might be the last day of that full moon energy that we can take advantage of. So, hi, Suzanne. Oh, it is? It's already snowing there? I like your little snowman dancing. Thank you, Caprice. That makes my night. Oh, has it? Dawn's already getting the snow. Ah, I love it. See? It makes me so excited. Okay, so the sun energy, everybody talks about the moon cycles and everything, and that's great because we want to be able to be aware of these cosmic events. We want to be able to be aware of these moon cycles so that we can adjust what we do and honor our bodies and our energy in accordance with that, for sure, because we know that it affects us. But the sun is masculine energy, and it's really important that we harmonize the two because we want to have a balance of that masculine and feminine energies in order to feel stable and in order to feel fabulous, right? So we want to not only make sure that we get outside to give ourselves morning sun, to make sure that we give ourselves evening sun, like right before the sun goes down. Obviously, don't gaze directly at the sun because that's not safe, But we really want to make sure we connect to the sun's energy. So I think it's really important to educate ourselves about what it is that the sun is doing that's impacting how we feel on a day-to-day basis on the planet. Okay? So I don't think I really got any responses regarding the Schumann resonance. So I'm going to talk about that. So the sun is obviously a giant star, and it's obviously very hot. Okay. So when the sun, every 11 years it goes through a cycle. Okay. And at that point of the 11-year cycle, it ends up developing a lot of sunspots. Okay. And when sunspots occur, it ends up being this pooling of energy in the sun that requires it to release in solar flares. So at that 11-year mark, you get a lot of solar flares, and we particularly feel them the most near the equator. Okay. So if you're living closer to the equator than I am, you're going to feel it more than I am. Okay. But solar flares can happen at any time. Those are just when they're the most concentrated. Okay. And so solar flares, when it's like this releasing of built up energy in the sun. And sometimes these solar flares are directly sent towards Earth, and sometimes they're just out into the atmosphere or into space. Like they're not directly focused on our planet. Okay? But what happens is these flares do come towards us, and when they do come towards us, they get deflected by our ionosphere, right? And our atmosphere. So we have Earth, we have our atmosphere, we have the ionosphere, and then we have the magnetosphere. So there's a bunch of different layers that the sun's rays have to go through in order to get to Earth. And what has been happening, which is really fascinating, is that none of these rays have been able to really impact us much until the last 3 years. It wasn't until 2017 that we started seeing shifts in the way that the magnetosphere in particular, which is way up here, is withstanding and deflecting these solar flares. So we're finding now, if you can look up on NASA's site, you can see the activity on the magnetosphere. And basically, it's supposed to be like this around our planet, but it'll end up going into peaks or it'll bend, right? And that means that it's kind of under pressure and it's having trouble withstanding the impact of these direct solar flares that are coming towards our planet. And so what happens is we get little leaks. Okay, so we get little leaks and they come in to our planet and they start to impact the frequency and the vibration of our entire planet. So we're not obviously going to feel that at this immense level. We're going to feel it at a smaller level because our Earth absorbs a lot of that shock, right? But we are still have the potential to feel physical symptoms. So that's one way that we can feel the impact from the sun, right? Is that if this magnetosphere is starting to kind of like bow a little bit, it's not really able to kind of hold on the entire time, then we're going to start getting these light codes from the sun, which is pretty cool because light is frequency, right? It has a vibration, and so it carries information. Light carries information. And so the information that's coming from the sun is one thing, but what they've also found is that there's cosmic rays that are coming from the universe that are coming into our planet from the opposite direction of the sun. Now, a lot of people believe that these cosmic rays are communication from other galaxies, other planets, and other star seeds or beings that are trying to send us more light codes to assist us with ascending to higher and higher dimensions of consciousness. Okay? And we see evidence of both when we look at the NASA data and when we look at the satellites for the magnetosphere. We see data for the sun impacting us, but we also see data from these cosmic rays impacting us. So the third thing that impacts us from the energy from the sun is the Schumann resonance. And I'm going to type that in the comments so that you guys know how to spell it if you want to look it up. Oh, goodness gracious. Facebook. Okay, so the Schumann resonance. So the Schumann resonance, remember how I said we have the Earth, we have the atmosphere, we have the ionosphere, and we have the magnetosphere, right? So it's this magnetosphere that we just talked about from the sun and the cosmic rays, right? Oh, I know. Neither did I, Dawn. I could talk about this stuff all night, man. Science and spirituality. Woo, so exciting. Anyway, so that's the magnetosphere, right? Right, Suzanne? I totally believe that. And I actually have graphs. I can send them to you, Suzanne, if you want. I have graphs that show that like the sun's over here, and then you see a little bit of the impact in the magnetosphere, but then you see all of these direct lines of light coming straight into our planet in a space where we're not supposed to have any activity, because technically that atmosphere surrounding Earth is not supposed to be able to hold an electrical charge at all, but it does. And that's why everybody's so fascinated, because technically, based on the scientific data, you're not supposed to be able to hold electrical charge within our atmosphere, but it does. And then you see these light lines that are coming into our planet from the opposite direction of the sun, and it's like, well, where are those coming from? Right? Where are those coming from? So that's the big question out there, right? All right, so the third thing is the Schumann resonance. Earth, atmosphere, ionosphere, magnetosphere. This is what we just talked about. Then we're going to talk about the ionosphere. Okay, so the ionosphere just has like a bunch of random free electrons that are roaming in this space. Okay, so it's like a very electrically charged space in the ionosphere, and that's above the atmosphere, which is above the Earth. Okay, so here's the surface of the Earth, and here's the ionosphere. What happens is there's lightning charges, there's lightning that is always going off between these two spaces, between the surface of the Earth and the ionosphere. There's lightning strikes happening all the time, all the time. And what's really cool is that these lightning strikes become much more concentrated and more plentiful when the sun has more flares or the flares are more direct to the Earth. Okay? So we talked about that with the magnetosphere, right? Sometimes they can be direct, sometimes they're not direct. And we talked about how the magnetosphere can handle that. And sometimes it bows a little bit and some of that energy leaks in. And then you move into the ionosphere, right? And it's here that those electrons get activated or impacted by the sun's rays that have been leaking through, and the frequencies that have been leaking through. And it basically activates this lightning activity between the Earth and the ionosphere. And when that happens, we get huge spikes of energy. And I have a bunch of charts on the Schumann resonance too that show that as of 3 years ago, there were absolutely no spikes at all on the Schumann resonance graphs. And this is measured by a satellite in Russia. It was actually measured by a lot of satellites, but most of them are unstable and they get knocked out by all of this cosmic activity. So the most reliable one exists in Russia. And it's so cool, and that's up and like active about 99% of the time. So that's the most stable reference point to access to figure out what's going on with the Schumann resonance. So, if you wake up in the morning and you're in a wonky mood, you can check astrology, but I also want you to check the Schumann resonance, and I also want you to check the magnetosphere, because both of those are impacting us as well. We think about the moon, we think about the planets, but we don't put enough attention into how much the sun impacts us. And it's really funny, because the reason I was drawn to research this so much is because I did follow the moon cycles for a while. I continue to, right? So I continue to follow the moon cycles and I find value in that. But I found that when I would feel the most impact physically or emotionally, it was due to a time when there were big solar flares. And I was like, that's interesting. And how many of you have read research by the HeartMath Institute? The HeartMath Institute has done, research that I can't even say how much research they've done. They've done so much research. And there's this one study that I read by them. Well, it's actually a compilation of a bunch of studies. I just need a sip of water, because I get so excited talking about this stuff. So, what was I talking about? I was talking about solar flares. Somebody remind me where I was. I was talking about solar flares. Oh yeah, the HeartMath study. So this was a compilation of a bunch of studies that they had done that they put together. And basically, this just fascinated me. They were talking about how they graphed the solar flares and their intensity over a period of time. Thank you, Cassidy. Thanks, Caprice. Appreciate you guys helping me out. Mercury retrograde, communication, see? So they graphed these solar flares and their intensity, and they realized that every single one of them that was super intense and magnified aligned with a significant historical event on our planet. So one was aligned with World War I, one was aligned with World War II, one was aligned with the Great Depression. So all of these things that have occurred on our planet have been aligned with a significant solar flare activity. Absolutely amazing, right? So that's why I was like, oh, what is this about? Like, the solar energy, has it been affecting me? And then I read this about how much it affects our planet. And this isn't discussed very much, right? So that's why I wanted to share it with you guys publicly, because I think it's really important for us to understand how this information and how this energy can impact us. So much we sit down and we say, oh my gosh, like, what's wrong with me? And why is this coming up again? And yes, we want to look at astrology. Yes, we want to look what's going on collectively and in our own lives. But if it's not obvious, please take a look at some of this information. Get curious about some of this stuff and understand that, it's a lot of it is we are energetic beings. We're always moving and shifting. We're molecules that are always vibrating, right? I know. Isn't this fascinating, Jennifer? So the Schumann resonance is going to go up and down, okay? And what's so interesting is that on this graph, we are supposed to be vibrating the Earth is supposed to be at 7.83 hertz. Okay, it's supposed to be one line across. And that's the only thing that we saw on this Schumann resonance graph up until 2017. It was literally one line, 7.83 hertz. And there was nothing else on the graph. But in the past 3 years, this graph keeps filling in more and more and more and more. Now we have multiple lines. We have the 7.83 line, we have another one, we have another one, and we have another one. And a lot of spiritual coaches and a lot of healers and astrologers believe that each of those lines is representing a different dimension, because we're getting sent more and more light codes and energy to illuminate our consciousness, to illuminate ourselves and our experience here on this planet. So the spikes keep getting bigger, the spikes keep getting more plentiful, and the entire chart, the entire graph is just filling in. And we anticipate that the graph is going to just fill in entirely in the future. Okay? So, in terms of the Schumann resonance, what's really important to know is that during these times when it's really, really active, we want to make sure that we ground, that we rest, that we hydrate, and take really good care of ourselves, because it's not like something bad is happening to us. That's what I want to clarify. What's happening is we are getting masculine energy. We're getting information through light frequencies, through light codes, and it's upgrading our being. It's upgrading our consciousness, but also our physical bodies and the frequency at which we vibrate. And so we need to take it easy on our bodies and sit back and allow ourselves to receive these codes in a way that allows our bodies to integrate them with the most ease and in a gentle way. I love this because it shows us that divine intelligence is really at play here. Because if all of this energy had come at us like that, and that Schumann resonance graph that was blank in 2017, just filled in all at once, there would be a lot of us that really didn't feel well. There would be a lot of us that would be, really struggling. Some of us might not have even been able to tolerate it. And so, yes, divine intelligence is behind this, because we've been very gradually, little by little, increasing the amount of light that we can hold. And how freaking cool is that? That during this period of time, my friends, we are expanding our capacity and our ability to receive and take in light, to receive and take in energy. So how cool. This is how we ascend as a planet. This is how we continue to grow. Yeah, it would have been total chaos for sure. Brent, I love your comments. Yes, multidimensional beings, hallelujah, for sure. So freaking cool, right? So Suzanne says, Sometimes when I step outside, I can feel the activation. Yes. Does that make sense? The atmosphere has felt so different. Yes, I know it is. It's felt so different because even during those times when I might feel like, ooh, what's going on? I'm also like still super intuitive and pumped up and like, yes, I'm so excited for the next step and the next level. And I know that it's coming, right? So this is like scientific evidence that shows how our planet is continuing to ascend in terms of our light codes, in terms of our consciousness. It's just mind blowing. It's just exciting. So let me know if you guys have any other questions about this because it's very detailed. I could literally talk about this all day. And I have, yes, naked feet on Mother Earth, Brent. Please, naked feet on Mother Earth because the Earth holds an opposite charge to our physical bodies, and we want to be able to neutralize whatever it is we might be carrying that is at dissonance with Mother Earth's frequency, right? The Schumann resonance is very often called the heartbeat of Mother Earth, which is pretty funny because it's not actually coming from the Earth. It's coming from the sun, right? It's not actually coming from the Earth. So, oh, you saw us at Omega. Oh, Jennifer, I would love to go to Omega. It's only like 45 minutes from me. That'd be so awesome. Hi, Jen. So good to see you, honey. Thank you. Hi, Tamara. So good to see you guys. Okay. So let me know what other questions you have. But one thing I wanted to share, there's a few pieces of info. I have all of my Schumann notes here next to me. And I just wanted to share a couple other things here. So one is, remember how I said that the sun, the solar flares and the sun cycles every 11 years? So right now we are in solar cycle 25. It is expected to peak with 115 sunspots in July 2025. Okay? The last solar minimum was in December 2019, and the last solar maximum was April 2014. So it'd be very interesting to kind of know what was going on in my life at the time and like how did I feel and what was going on collectively as a planet, right? So, and also keep your eyes on that July 2025. Get yourself ready to chill that month and just go on vacation for the month. And maybe not towards the equator because you're going to get more impacted by this. Unless you really feel like you are prepared to receive all of this illuminating energy, then go nuts. Go to the equator. Okay. You're welcome, Suzanne. That's why I tagged you guys. I was like, oh man, you need to know about this, right? I feel like there's some energy out there that's in resistance actively against this potential. Yeah, how do you manage through it so that you stay grounded in possibility? Oh, that's so beautiful. I love you so much for asking that question. So yeah, I mean, it's that balance, right? It's that balance between this and the feminine energy of the moon, right? So it's you being able to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, your relaxation response as much as you can so that you're in a place of receptivity, and to encourage other people to be in a state of receptivity, which means more meditation, deeper breath work, yoga, myofascial release, right? Really giving yourself the opportunity to receive. Because really that's what's happening is we're being sent this information to listen, right? Because if this is people that are light beings that are sending us information from other galaxies that they want us to encode and to internalize, right? If they want us to do that, they are not communicating through human language. They're communicating through codes. They're communicating through frequency. They're communicating through, which could be light, it could be sound, right? But they're not communicating through human language. Sometimes they communicate through light language, which is also amazing. But we need to learn how to communicate with them so that we can open up the lines of communication between us and these other galaxies. Okay? All right, so let's see here. It looks like Cassidy said something about food. Oh, higher vibrational foods. Basically, any food that's coming from the earth is a higher vibrational food. Anything that's just coming straight from the earth that isn't processed, that's created by the sun, the water of Mother Earth and the soil of Mother Earth, right? Without chemicals, without anything like that, like higher vibrational foods, for sure. Okay. Thank you, Brent. Yes, prayer, yoga, fasting. Yes. You can change your own code patterns 100%. That's why I freaking love the Akashic Records, because you're not changing your actual DNA, but you're changing the expression of the DNA. You're changing the expression of your cells, and each of your cells can hold intelligence. You can expand the capacity for each of your cells to hold these codes that are coming in. Okay. So let me know if that answered your question, Caprice. But it's, just like when people say, follow the moon cycles, and when you're in, the new moon phase, you want to really rest and restore and set intentions, fresh starts, things like that. When you're in the full moon, you want to release, and listening to your body at those different phases. It's really important for you to balance that with also what's going on with the sun. So it's like, all right, follow the moon cycles and honor your body and ground and kind of follow the guidelines along what is really called for when we're in certain moon cycles, and then cross that with the information that's coming through the Schumann resonance or the magnetosphere, so that you can find that balance of what it is you need, okay? Oh, Karen's saying she doesn't get a lot of sun. Okay, yeah. Okay, I'm just checking in on comments here. Let me know if any other questions are coming through, guys. Yeah, organic foods. Thank you, Brent. Nature animals are able to more easily hear the messages and hold the space for the collaboration. Hell yes. Absolutely. Because guess what? They don't have egos to talk back to this kind of stuff. For sure. And they're built for this kind of fluctuation, right? They're built for this kind of fluctuation. And we just, like we're talking about the resistance. Yeah, we get in the space where we kind of talk back to it, right? Oh, gardening with the moon. That's beautiful. I love that. I love that so much. So cool. I love this. Thank you guys so much for interacting so much. All right, there's just a couple more pieces of information I wanted to share before we go that I just thought was super, super. I mean, like I said, I could talk about this all night, but there were a couple things that I thought were really, really fascinating. Okay. Oh yeah. So one of them is, one of the reasons that we are so out of balance with this frequency of like the 7.83 hertz of Mother Earth is because of all the technology that we have going on, right? It's not a bad thing that we have technology, but it does interfere with the frequencies and the wavelength that we are resonating as a planet, okay? So the more that we can contribute to kind of distancing ourselves from that and allowing ourselves to ground and allowing ourselves to sink into a state where we are vibrating differently as physical beings, we are going to see how much impact we can have when we sit back and just allow this energy to vibrate as it's meant to, rather than saying, no, I know, I feel it, I hear it, but I'm going to go do this anyway because I have a human agenda. So this is the last thing I wanted to share with you is, we get ascension symptoms. So when all of this information comes forward, shungite's probably the best stone I would recommend. Yes, Brent, thank you for just absorbing some of the energy, like Wi-Fi signals and things like that, to transmute a lot of these frequencies that are interfering with what we want to vibrate as with Mother Earth. Okay, so it's cool because they did this study where they tuned people to 7.83 hertz, right, which is the planet's own magnetic frequency. And when they did that, people experienced enhanced learning and memory, body rejuvenation, balance, improved stress tolerance, and grounding. Okay, so that's how people felt when they were tuned to the 7.83. When that 7.83 hertz frequency was removed from their environment, they reported migraine headaches, emotional distress, and began developing health problems. So that shows you how much we are energetically sensitive and how much these energies impact us. And when we have an awareness of them and we're conscious of tuning our bodies, like for me, I tune my body multiple times a day. I'll put on solfeggio frequencies or binaural beats, but I am always tuning my body because I truly see myself as a tuning fork. Our nervous system in particular is the most sensitive to the sun's rays, the most sensitive to the Schumann resonance. Okay? And what we want to do is we want to give ourselves a break and allow ourselves to move through this, because when we get activated by this energy, we're going to feel dizzy. We're going to get headaches. We're going to get ringing in our ears, all sorts of neurological symptoms. We're going to feel nauseated. We're going to feel Our heart rate might get higher because our autonomic nervous system is impacted the most. And that's the one that controls our digestion and our heart rate and our blood pressure, right? All of those automatic responses that occur in our body without even having to think about it. Oh, that's my favorite one, actually, Brent. The Om chanting at 528. That's my favorite one. I listen to that one all the time, especially right before I go into the Akashic Records. That's my favorite. So yeah, so this stuff is it's just cool. And it's something that I really want you to keep your awareness about and to check in on, you know, when you're feeling off, because it's such evidential information to confirm that we are energetic beings and how much we are impacted by not just what we're doing on our day-to-day lives, not just what's going on our planet, what's going on outside of our planet, what's going on beyond that, because these cosmic rays are coming in from galaxies beyond our own, right? And it's neat that we get to collaborate with them. You know, it's neat that we get to collaborate with them and kind of learn about this stuff so that we can open up the lines of communication between ourselves and universal intelligence. So, shift breathing tool? What do you mean by, I mean, I have so many breathing tools. It's crazy, but I'm always open to learning new breathing tools. So, drop it in the comments, my friend. Happy to hear it. All right, guys. So if you guys don't have any questions, any other questions, I'm going to jump off. I'm here every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. So tune in with me for sure. Thank you guys so much for being here and being so active in the chat. I love it when we get to come together as a community and collaborate on this information and this energy that we're receiving and helping each other move through all these shifts, right? And just, you know, the ultimate message here is take care of yourselves, right? Know that our autonomic nervous system is helped by by vagus nerve stimulation, by, you know, meditation, by any kind of energy work, by breath work, by deep states of relaxation. That could be an Epsom salt bath. It could be a float tank, okay? But really allow yourself to immerse yourself in these kinds of experiences to soothe and take care of your system, because it's going to be reactive to these kinds of energies. And you want to give yourself a baseline that can be more resilient. That's one of the things I say about meditation all the time to my clients is, and they see in themselves too, is that when they do this work and when they meditate and access this state more and more consistently, they're just more resilient. It doesn't mean that, you know, people don't get impacted by things anymore. But it means that when they're impacted, it's less intense, it's shorter in duration, right? And they're bouncing back much faster. They're seeing the lesson and moving on. You know what I mean? So anyway, also I have a course starting tomorrow called Akashic Amplifier, and I'm so pumped about it. There's so many people who have been joining this space. It's my lowest price course that I've ever offered, and it's kick-ass. It literally feels like an Akashic party. It didn't feel that way until everybody started joining, but I'm like, these vibes are so fun. And I'm really excited. I know a few of you who were here live are already coming, but there's a link in the description of the video, but I'll also pop one in the chat here too. It starts tomorrow night, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. It's a super quick commitment. It's not going to take you, 13 weeks like my Akashic Records certification program, but we're going to be going into the Akashic Records every single time. I'm going to be teaching you guys tools for clearing blocks and getting much greater confidence and clarity in your intuitive messaging, connecting more to your spirit guides and your angels and your loved ones, and just allowing things to organically come up so that when we ask pointed questions to our guides or our Akashic Records, we can be really confident about what's coming through, right? So in the moment, we're going to be posing these questions and seeing what's coming up and really working through them to get people comfortable with using this space, because it's an absolutely magical tool. It assists us with all of these things we talked about tonight, and with ascending to new layers of consciousness and dimensions. So please join me. I would love to have you. It's just a beautiful group of souls. I'm so excited to connect with some of these people that some of them I haven't seen in a while. So anyway, thank you for joining me. I love you guys. I will see you next Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. Have a great week. Bye.